This conference will now be recorded.
Hi guys, how are you? Sorry for not able to communicate last 2 days. We had some troubles with, right? India, and it's yeah, the work is so damn so bad. So anyway, nonetheless, um, so let's start our class. So if you look at this, uh, how to run a web application in multiple Azure regions for high availability. This is like enterprise level scenario. Okay, so basically either it's your choice of what kind of project you want to do. Okay, but I would be helping you if there are any kind of issues uh, for the next consequent 3 days. So first and foremost, uh, just have a look at this scenario. So a multi-tier web application actually has to be built for availability, disaster recovery. So there are a lot more cases here. So what is a web tier? What is a business tier? So these are the technical terms one actually use when you are actually trying to design an infrastructure on top of Azure. So and also it's a generic, but people uh, people flow with this kind of terminology mostly on Azure. You don't really need to say business tier, data tier. But time to time, if you speak with industry, let's say 10, 15 years of experienced architects, so these are the main things that you have to work with. So when they say data tier, it means that they're talking about either a database or a storage or a file storage. So object storage or a file storage. So when I say how are you going to connect, where is this data plane? How are you maintaining the data plane? Show me the architecture. What is the method that you're actually having this redundancy of the data plane. So a lot of things will happen inside each plane. So currently, a web tier is basically for user interface. It's like a front end. Okay, a business tier for backend. So normally, we have we have a we have a three-tier architectures normally. We have a web tier, which is basically a website UI, okay, which can be typically developed in React or no JavaScript or React or Angular or whatsoever. There are so many UI-based technology stack. So there would be a code base separate for only web tier, okay, which we will obviously see. I have an example which you can utilize to build a web tier based application. Now we have a business tier. A business tier actually involves a B, a backend. What do you mean by backend? Backend means it's a whatever the request you are hitting, there should be some kind of technology stack which should process the request and get the data and then show you the resultant response in form of a response. So this business tier basically and typically every business application will have a backend and a front end. So backend is nothing but business tier. Data tier. Data tier is where all the data would be stored. It can be a database, maybe file storage, maybe an object storage, whatever. So basically, these are the main three different segments. Okay, I hope this is clear. So either you can run them in either Windows or Linux is based on your architectural preference or operating system preference. Now, coming to the basic use cases. So this is Microsoft has a lot of architectural discussions or recommendations, but you have to choose what exactly is really suitable for you. Okay, so coming to the architecture, uh, so these architectures are basically used for SAP and SharePoint, so you don't really need to do them because SAP is such a huge enterprise level package, and it's another thing to actually utilize SAP. But we can go with, I just wanted to show you how this tied architecture can look like. So what happens is whenever a request comes, there would be a traffic manager. So basically, it would be a failover manager who will actually transfer, consider this kind of a, uh, uh, who is like a failover manager. So he actually sends the traffic either to the region 1 or a region 2. So region 1 is an active, okay? So whenever region 1 goes down, only then region 2 will pick up. So, but you have to pay for, so the thing is that region 2 won't be active, okay? Only region will be active. Region 2 will not be in production active. That means the traffic won't be directly going to region 2 ever unless otherwise region 1 is unavailable. So this is something like you have to pay for the both the infrastructures, so double the cost, but you will have at least 99.95, let's say 100% failover design. Okay, but we call what are the sets? I mean, you might be thinking that okay, what is this? How are we basically able to do this, or how is this implemented? Don't worry, this is the basic uh, responsibility of your cloud architect, who has to talk with business requirement of the uptime requirement, and then he will design it based on that particular scenario. So you don't really need to worry about much about it, but you didn't need to know have this knowledge. Okay, web tier, application tier, database tier. That's it. So this is how basically any application will be normally. Now, but most of the times, what we are working with would be working with either an e-commerce website. Okay, so e-commerce website, you have to. It's very simple. Okay, so it's completely an architectural data flow, but it's components here. There is a web app component, database, and some kind of Azure function or backend. Same thing, just like what we discussed before. We have the same thing. Okay, now this is the complete flow how this might typically works like. Okay, so you will have a browser, it will communicate to the web application, and some function or some background job will run and get access from the data and will be processed to web application. Simple. So yeah, there is good, everything is good, we are happy, but I want to do an architecture, I want a reference, so this is your reference. Okay, so from internet, traffic will directly go to Azure front. Azure, I mean, it will come to Azure infrastructure. So basically, your web tier would be there in this particular box. So this web tier is basically you have a Unix system that is actually running this particular static code, and which is processed again by the backend. So this is a backend, and this backend might require extra components such as in-memory databases like Redis, or you can add Redis search. So anything, these kind of extra components come in, but they still considered as a backend support components, and then your backend interacts with data storage, Azure DB SQL, and that's it. So this is your basic architecture. Okay. Now let's go with the example. So currently I have looked into two different there are basically two different uh, code bases available which we can use, okay, for implementing this infrastructure and running this app. So the main focus of the application, this is simplest, okay. Just install Node 12.0 plus or maybe 14. Anything is fine. 12 is better. Okay. So just run this command and install. And from the root directory, just yarn start. When you do say yarn start, that means it will actually start working. But one thing you need to do is that you have to use Flickr. You have to sign up for Flickr. Okay. Log in into the Flickr. I don't know my previous login. Or is I think I already logged in. This might not work because uh, why? No reading spaces. No. So all you need to do, okay, I'm already signed in now. Okay. So I'm just creating it. I'm requesting API. So if you see, this is the key. And what you need to do is that go to the config. Sorry. is the config here. I think, or you have to create this config.js. Okay, once you create config.js, I thought there is sample, but there is none. So just write this key, constant API key, and your API access key. That's it. Just make sure that you save the secret as well, just in case. Okay. Then upload something in your Flickr. You should be able to see in your application. Okay. So this is something like your own smart Instagram app, or maybe a demo of a Flickr. Don't worry. But what exactly you need to understand from here is that you are actually you are actually using a React app. You are cooking everything of your React app, and then you are implementing in the architecture of this sort. So you don't really need DB here because you're not requiring DB. You're just having only an app service plane, which actually has a Ubuntu server. Okay, and in this Ubuntu server, you're gonna place this app and you're gonna run this app. So this will should give you the whole application access. But the here is you need to have you can actually work with the high availability at a zone level and region level. Okay, so now it's your choice. I actually suggest do everything possible. The first one is make sure that you have an app here, two applications, and put a load balancer up front. Okay, so I think that is better. Yeah, put a load balancer up front. It's very simple. Just put two instances and a load balancer and tie the load balancer to your DNS. So whenever you have a domain, clicking on it, you should actually go to either of the application. So this is the simplest zone level high availability. But you want to go at the region level. That's what actually takes more work. So when you go to region level, now you have to create one active region and one standby region. Okay, so front doors. This is what I was actually talking. So this is basically a door to the region. So if I have front door, whatever your resource group, my region is this one. Okay, and use this front doors to actually create. Okay, so internet goes through front doors to one of the region. Okay, so this is a simplest application structure. You can do this. Or you want a complex? I got you covered. Now we have something called Builderable. Okay, this is actually a very popular open source project where people try to read the code of this particular builder book, try to improve themselves. But don't worry, how the live looks is this one, like this one. So there's nothing. You go to the main page, you will get this kind of UI. Okay, but not everything. You won't get this kind of data whatsoever. All you might get is maybe this page. But the best part is you can actually buy. So there is code base that is actually written to process the API transactions. So this is a complete one. Okay, it has several different components. Okay, but this is like a good exercise for you. You can use Node 12 to run this one, and uh, there are a lot more. So if you want to deploy this to Heroku, how do you need to deploy? Okay, so you can even deploy to Heroku. Heroku is another simplest, no, what do you call this, no UI, no completely automated infrastructure platform. So you don't require a DevOps or anything. You just need code, push it, everything will be maintained by them. But it's very expensive. Okay, and it can quickly become really expensive. But nothing, for our requirement, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do anything related to changes to code base. What we are going to do is basically first try to run it locally. Okay, create a background machine. Ubuntu 16 is better. Go with Node 12, download it. Try to read a bit more of this good GitHub page and edit the env. In the env, make sure that you actually fill whatever the required keys here. Once everything is filled, try to start the application. First steps: create a VM, install Node, or whatever the required stack that is inbuilt with this particular app. Okay, create a .env file and run. This would be your real-time job. This is what you want to do basically. Okay, once this is set up, okay, uh, then tomorrow I will give you the second task, which is uh, using Jenkins, writing the automation for this one. So this is not done. You would be having a billing. So be ready to pay a big bill on your Azure infrastructures because this is a project and it has to be done in a serious tone. So you can run this. Once this is done, if you are comfortable that you got the hook of it, it's not really hard at all. But yes, it's not as simple as the application actually here. Okay, so there are only two. This is simplest one. Do this first, then you can actually extend this to the full code base. So this actually has a database. It requires a MongoDB. Okay, it requires I don't know. I think yeah, just MongoDB would be fine. Nothing much. So you will get both the tracks covered. Okay, simple and complex. And you want highly available, first do the simplest one with the same region, then use Condor to do it at region level. That's it. If you want to study anything regarding to architecture, I can give you the whole link. There are a bunch of architectural patterns full of. Azure has a lot of material on it for its application ecosystem and very clear as well. Okay, so this is in short what I'm actually got you. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. Hello. For every time, delete a resource group. I mean, sorry, for every application, create a resource group. Everything should be in a resource group. Any other questions, guys? Rucha, Amaya, Rohit. I'm going to share you all this information, all these links into the WhatsApp, so you can completely refer them. on the top. Once this is done, on the third day, we can configure logs and other monitoring activities. And the fourth day, I think we can completely see if we miss anything. So this is like very in depth, but it's up to you guys whether you really want to do it or not. Guys, any response? Any comments? Okay, I'm actually pinging everything to the WhatsApp. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Okay, so things are done. Any other questions, guys?
Abdul? Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, Rucha.
Yeah, I just wanted to know what is the use of function app? Why do we use function app?
Functions are serverless applications. So here, when you say function app, it means backend.
Okay. Oh,
I
yeah.
can prepare a quick diagram, but that will really reduces your, let's say, understandability of Azure infrastructure. So I wanted you to go through these documents so that you understand what is the meaning of a function app, or what is this data plane or tier, uh, web tier or app tier. So here you don't see any tiers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here this is a web app. That means it's a web application front end hosting instance, and this is backend. Okay, but
Okay.
currently we don't have backend for the first one. In such case, we have to run this. But normally in the second case, we have front end as well as back end. But we actually run them in a single app. We don't need to, we don't separate them out. They are
Okay.
tightly coupled. So the first one for UI, the second for your backend. And then your backend also has connection to DB in the second applications. So almost the same. So if you work with any application, it would be almost a similar same. So nothing special.
Okay.
All you need to do that, first you run it in the simplest setup, show me the setup, or at least understand yourself what setup you're doing, and
Mm-hmm.
then increase the setup to high availability. That means have more than one backend, or have one more than one active. I mean, disaster recovery, such as one active region or stack.
Okay.
Any other questions, guys?
Okay.
Okay. If you have no other questions, so tomorrow I would be coming up with tasks for uh, automated deployment tasks. Okay, based on these two applications. Okay, so get ready. Please work on the tasks. If you have any questions, you can ask me tomorrow. So otherwise, what is today, Thursday, Friday? Yeah, you can ask me tomorrow, and then we'll have one more class that would be focused on the total out if your applications are ready, at least one environment is ready, then we can move on to monitoring. Once these three are done, we're mostly done. Okay. Okay, that's all for today. I thank you everyone for attending the class, and I hope you make use of it. And let's catch up tomorrow. Bye bye.